Good evening. You're listening to WHFS Bethesda, Maryland. My name's Thomas, and we're speaking with Genya Ravan this evening.
That's right. I thought you were going to say Ravan.
People do.
Yeah, they still do. But I'm trying to clarify that in every town I go into. I didn't make too much noise about it before, but now I figured, well, if I'm going to talk, and then I may as well clarify that. Raven, Raven, Raven.
It's like Warren Zevon and Warren Zevon.
Oh, do they say Zevon?
Oh, yeah, there's...
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's the same thing.
And we could go on. There's Alan Toussaint, Alan Toussaint.
That's right. Listen, I checked into a hotel the other night. We were in Boston, and they had me down as Genya Ravan. So I think that was the lowest. I mean, it's been Genya Ravan, Genya Ravine, Genya Ravan, but never Raisin. Yeah.
Well, Genya, you have a new record out called Urban Desire on 20th Century. It's a real nice record. It's been out a couple of months now, right?
Yeah, it's been out about 3 months.
And you produced this one yourself.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to kick you if you didn't know. Yeah, I produced it. I'm very happy with it. That's not saying that the next one won't be better, but I'm really, really pleased with this album.
Lou Reed sings with you on it.
Right. John Cale was going to sing that song with me, and I happened, I heard from Lou a night before it was scheduled to go into the studio, and I said, yeah, Lou Reed, that makes a lot of sense, yin and yang over here.
Colorado, is that how you say it?
Actually, I say A Colorado.
A Colorado.
Right. It's a Spanish name for red, right? And the song is really about my first boyfriend when I was a kid, who happened to have been Puerto Rican, and he was a bad Puerto Rican. Bad on the scene.
Yeah, there's a lot of street-type music on it.
Yeah, it was because finally I could write some lyrics on an album. I was very pleased about this all around. I wasn't very confident about my writing until this album, actually. I thought I'd take a shot. That's why I only, wrote 3 songs. But now the next album, I'd say 90% is going to be my material.
Previous to this, you were involved in a group called 10 Wheel Drive. Would you like to tell us something about that, how it came about and how it broke up? Well,
10 Wheel Drive, I would say everything I've done so far is pretty much a growing process. Everybody changes with time, and at the time I had heard a group called Blood, Sweat, and Tears with Al Cooper, and I fell in love with that album, and I said, yeah, that's what I want to do. Of course, after Al Cooper, I wasn't too pleased with BS&T. Now, 10 Wheel Drive was a conglomeration of, 3 people, my 2 writers and myself. And I was pleased with 10 Wheel Drive, but there's a looseness that I really needed to have both on record and on stage that I felt pretty cornered because there were charts involved, and you can't extend tunes. Well, you can, except the horn players would get really bugged, extend a tune with a rhythm section, and the horn players would just stand there. I mean, there's 5 horns, and they're not going to start going into some kind of a horn riff. Well, I mean, they did in a couple of cases, but it was pretty restricted. And at one point, I mean, after the 3rd album, I just thought, I have to move on and do other things, and I got pretty interested in producing. So.
Yeah, look what happened to groups like Chicago. They stagnate with the brass sound.
Once in a while, though, they come up with that one tune, and I was never into Chicago that much, but once in a while they get that tune, boy, and it's good. It's good.
Well, maybe Blood, Sweat, and Tears is a better example. Like Child is a Father to the Man was the best.
That was my favorite album. That was, I mean, I really thought they were going to stay in that bag. It was good. It was loose. It had R&B overtones, but it was still, it felt good. The music really felt good, and I turned around and I said, that's what I want. I want a horn band, because before that I had a girls band, and it was called Goldie and the Gingerbreads, and we were very successful in Europe, not here. And, we toured with the Stones and the Yardbirds and the Kinks, and the Beatles got us our first TV show there. The Animals produced us. I mean, we were a very hot commodity in Europe, not in America. And so, I mean, the looseness that I wanted all along, I had at the beginning, I went into 10 Wheel Drive. Then I went into a Stone jazz group because I needed to find out whether that's what I wanted to do. And I lost why. What you even asked me? I don't know why. I mean, I know why, but oh, wait a minute. I'm
Tell
getting
me why
confused.
10 Wheel Drive broke up.
Yeah, broke up mainly because I didn't have the freedom that I wanted to have, you know. And I saw a lot of people make a mistake on production after production, and you know. Oh, I know why I told you about Goldie and the Gingerbreads, because that wasn't the first time I came on the scene in the music business. I've been in the music business since 1963, you know, and so I'm not a baby in this business that could get, you know, sidetracked. What I will do though, at any cost, and I owe it to everybody, is I will check out other kinds of music, just because I'm into a lot of kind of music. But I have to tell you, I'm really glad about rock and roll.
Dig it. I'm glad you said 1963 because I think of Phil Spector, and your Urban Desire album, Jerry's Pigeons, has that Phil Spector overtone.
Oh yeah, and that's something I would never mind doing. I would love to go in and do an album full of oldies, but you know, this really like took the cake. Jerry's Pigeons is a song that lets itself go back to the 50s and still come right back to the rock, and that's why I was really pleased with the way Jerry's Pigeons came out.
Well, let's listen to Jerry's Pigeons and then come back and rap some more.
Okay.
Okay, we're back. Play the record, obviously.
That was the fastest single I ever heard.
Oh, you gotta come up. See
I know. What a low mix, though. You know, I could hardly hear anything.
I know. Let's see, where are we? Oh, yeah. Okay, that was Genya Ravan from Urban Desire. You also electrified the Supremes back in my arms again, the old Motown.
Yeah. I did that. There was a reason in mind. I mean, someone said to me, you ought to do an old Supreme song. I said, get out of here. You know, I'm not going to do an old Supreme. I'm going in, I'm doing rock and roll. It's going to be hard. It's going to be heavy. I don't want no, you know, Supreme song. And then I thought about it, and back in my arms again, I thought, okay, I know what this country, you know, I know the stations. I know how insecure a lot of people are at radio stations. Now, I'm not talking about your station, but you have to remember that I'm dealing with a lot of stations, right? I come out with an album full of brand new tunes, okay, and it's going to take longer to be played. I think that when you put an old song on, and if it could represent the rest of the sound on the album, I think it's a really safer bet. Now, Back in My Arms Again, I'm very pleased with, and I didn't do it just for commercial reasons, but I did do it with that in mind. I mean, I do like the song, but I also put a very hard edge to it so that when anybody would listen to Back in My Arms Again, they'd already know, hey, this is going to be a hard rock album. You know what I mean?
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, because a lot of stations are afraid of new stuff, you know, and that's why, you know, I'm really pleased when, you know, when I meet people from a station like yours, you know, where you've got the freedom to play whatever you want, and if you dig it, you'll play it some more, and WHFS is all right with me, you know.
Well, there's quite a cross-section of music on this album, like shadowboxing.
Right. It is, but yet it lends to the lyric is still a very street. I don't know if I could curse on the station. I won't. Somebody just said it's really good to hear a chick with a FU lyric, a love lyric, okay? And that's basically what that is anyway. And I can't tell you how many chicks that I know of, you know, have said things that would probably blow your mind, you know, and I just thought it was time that, especially ballads, that you can really say what you feel about somebody. And I know I felt like that about people I went with, you know. And so it didn't lose anything. I had to be really careful, you know, because there has to be a continuity, always. I think that's really important. And I learned that the hard way, because I had that Columbia album out. It had everything, all kinds of music on one album. And everybody in the business loved it. I loved it. Musicians loved it. but when somebody wanted to hear a rock and roll tune, they could only have like one track on that whole album that was rock and roll. Somebody wanted to hear R&B, they could only go to one track that's R&B. So if you're going to be rock, be rock. If you're going to do an album, then you do it like Nielsen did. Nielsen did an album full of ballads, right, for those, and whoever loved ballads listens to his album, and you have to have a continuity in your albums.
Right. You have worked with some really fine musicians. You worked with like horn players, Jim Price, and who else? Bobby Keys, who have worked with the Stones, George Harrison, Derek and the Dominoes, and I believe you and Price did some producing and writing in the early days.
We did some writing together. I really respect him as a musician, Jim Price, that is. I think the production on my album was awful. And I think that's what's wrong with a lot of producers that are also players, are also artists, are also arrangers. I would say that album that I did was more of a Jim Price album with a chick singer on the vocals than anything else.
Okay, well, let's listen to Keep On Growing.
Oh, all right.
From it. Okay, and then we'll come back. You want to...
We've got it.
Yeah. Gosh, I wish we could finish it. There's so much... Test, 1, 2.
Hi, this is Genya Ravan. You are listening to WHFS, Bethesda, Maryland, 102.3 FM. Dig it. Yeah. Hello, this is Genya Ravan. You're listening to WHFS Bethesda, the best station in Maryland, 102.3 FM. Yeah. Hi, this is Genya Ravan, and you're listening to Thomas on WHFS, Bethesda, Maryland, 102.3. Let's do one more. Hello, this is Genya Ravan. You're listening to Thomas, and Thomas, yeah. One more time. Hello, this is Genya Ravan, and you're listening to Thomas on WHFS Bethesda, Maryland, 102.3.
Okay, that's fine. All right, this is break 2. You're listening to WHFS Bethesda, Maryland, and we're speaking with Genya Ravan, who just finished an engagement tonight down at the Cellar Door. How'd you like the Cellar Door?
It was a small crowd, but they were a very good crowd. I said it on stage. I'd rather have 100 people in an audience that are into me than working an audience of 5 to 10,000 that are not. You know what I mean? It's not a matter of how many people. It's like who's into you. I can work to one person in an audience.
Right. You have a very tight band, and most of the personnel is the same people that are on your album, Urban Desire. How long have you been together?
We've been together about a year. The only person that changed was the one guitar player. But the guitar player I had on the album, he was borrowed. He was working with John Cale at the time. And I just asked him to play on the album. But Lars Hansen, the guy I have now, is just, he's incredible. I can't wait to do the next album with him.
Uh-huh. Genya, you have quite a history in this rock and roll business. People may know, they might not know, that you produced the Dead Boys, who are part of the new wave type of music that's coming in. How'd you get into that?
I was hanging out at CBGB's for a while. Like I said before, I got interested in producing. I had a hard time trying to get a label deal with me producing myself. And I get a lot of questions like, is it because you're a woman? I don't think so. I think my past has hurt more than helped. Hurt in the business. The business is a whole other thing. I've had a couple of albums out. They didn't do incredible. They did well. They didn't do great. And, a couple of times I got in trouble and, and I must have looked like some flighty person, and they said, no, you can't produce yourself. And I thought I was going to go out and start producing other acts, and to hell with it. I wasn't going to do my next album and let somebody come in and seduce me as opposed to produce me, musically. Like I said before, Jim Price, he really, he hurt my album more than he helped. But anyway, that's another story. Anyway, I went down to CBGB's because I heard the CBGB live album, and I sat there and laughed for about an hour, you know, because I thought it was so unprofessional. It turned me on. Because every time you turned on the radio, you heard such, you know, I mean, I love the Eagles, and I love a lot of the groups that are out, the old-timers, you know, but after a while, you got to get back to basics, you know. People have been climbing and climbing and climbing. I mean, after a while, it's out of your reach, you know. There were a lot of groups working in basements that had, I mean, no hope for themselves at all. They were not going to sound like the Beatles' last album, you know. People need to have the time to grow. They need an audience to help them grow. So all of a sudden, the new wave thing happened, punk thing, and I was really happy about it. You know, of course, you get a couple of really bad groups, but they're not going to be around. It's the good groups that are going to happen out of the new wave and the punk. But I was happy that someone had the nerve to put it on a record finally, and it made me go down to CBGB's. I got friendly with Hilly Crystal, and we decided to form a production company together. He had heard a lot of my productions already. I had already done a couple of albums of a couple of acts. And he asked me to come down and listen to a group called the Dead Boys. And I went down. It was on a Monday night. They were auditioning. And I heard them, and I felt that they had, you know, a real good potential. I took them into the studio. They were easy to work with. I like them because they're like Mick Jagger and anybody else, okay? They have an act. Whether we like the act, or you like the act, or anybody likes the act, that's up to you. The point is that they don't carry their act off stage unless they're forced to. And anybody could get rowdy at any time. Let's face it. You get drunk, anyone will get rowdy. It's just that this business, there's an eye on you all the time. So, you know, I mean, like, the Dead Boys, believe it or not, are nice guys.
Well, I tell you what, let's listen to something from the record you produced, and then we'll come back and talk some more.
Okay.
Okay, we're back. You're listening to WHFS, and we're speaking with Genya Ravan, who was just down at the Cellar Door tonight. Where do you go from here?
We're going to Philly, and then we're going back to Canada. I believe we're going back to Cleveland. Excuse me. There's a couple of places we're going back to that we performed in, and it's all right with me. We did great in San Francisco, Cleveland. We did great in Canada. All these places want us back. We did great in Boston. Boston was, it was a 3-day holiday, and we just like packed the house. It was incredible. And, you know, we're just plodding along. I don't mind going back. You know, we're talking about big concerts, me opening up for like Blue Oyster or this or that. I don't know. I think I'm going to stick with the clubs for a while.
You were concentrating mostly on your new material from Urban Desire.
Yeah, concentrating on that. Also working on the next one. I wanted to take December off to write. You know, I can't write on the road because my lyrics are very New York based. It's very hard for me to be in between sound check and traveling and eating and getting prepared for the shows, you know, and doing interviews. I'm not a prolific writer. I really have to concentrate to write. So I'd like to take the month of December off, if possible, you know.
Yeah, we should mention that we're going to broadcast the show that you did tonight. And people can hear what you sound like if they didn't make it down to the club tonight. And I'm going to ask you this, I'm going to edit this, but mention the call letters next time, would you? WHFS.
Oh, yeah. You know, where's my...
I gave you a couple bumper stickers.
Yeah, where is it? Here it is.
Can't miss that. I'll send you a load of them.
I tell you, the group saves them, so it would be a good
Okay.
idea. Okay, so let's talk a little bit
All
more.
right, let's get back into this. Genya, tonight you played the harp, and it knocked me out.
You liked it? Can you hear it all right? I mean, were you able to hear it? I always have a problem because every time we're on stage, I can hear it through the monitors. I never know if people outside can hear it. Yeah, I'm going to play some more harp on the next album, you know. I like playing harp. I'm still looking for that one sound. I was talking to a couple of groups, you know, that they sound really good in blues, but in blues, bands tend to play lower. My group is a much harder type group, so you can hardly hear the harmonica on stage, but as long as you say you heard it. By the way, I want to mention that WHFS has really, really been good to us, and I appreciate it. So does everybody in the band, believe me, because there's not too many stations that'll jump on a hard rock female album at this point. They're not used to it, you know. They're not used to it.
Well, as I told you, we play everything and anything that's good.
I'm so happy to see you're happy, you know, because there are more unhappy people, you know. It's kind of like working for yourself, I guess. It's nice. Yeah, it's nice.
Do you have a favorite selection on this record?
I'll tell you, I got a couple of favorites, okay? Jerry's Pigeons, because, I mean, I'm reliving my life when I perform that.
Did a real nice version tonight. I like the medley that you do at the end. It was different, and when we broadcasted, people...
Yeah, it all of a sudden hit me like maybe I could get like somebody from the audience to get up and sing some oldies at the end, you know. I happen to love shadowboxing. Now, I really feel for those lyrics. I'm not saying I don't feel for anything else. It's just that shadowboxing is such a... it creates a real atmosphere. I don't know if you have to be stoned or what to sit there and listen to it, but it's, you know, it's a good cut. Do you guys play it?
I play it a lot.
You play it?
At night.
All right, for you.
Yeah.
Listen, I got to thank you again because I don't know if... See, people that listen to your station don't even feel it, probably, but there are so many stations that won't play everything that they like. I'm really happy that you guys like, you know, what I'm doing, but, you know, Patti Smith, I'm not saying anything about her music or what she does or what she believes in, but Patti Smith's right insofar as that I don't believe there's enough freedom in music. There's certainly enough musicians, but I don't feel that there's enough freedom for people to play what they want. And WHFS, I'm sure, is on the top of Patty's list. Did she come through this town?
She hasn't been up to the station, but she just played at Georgetown University, which is about...
Well, I wish you guys would have talked to her, because I'm sure she would have liked to have heard, you know, all the stuff we were talking about and stuff. By the way, you recorded the show live and everything. I hope everybody understands. I'm a little hoarse, and I'm not going to reach the notes that I usually do. It does not mean that I'm drunk. It does not mean that I lost my voice. Because, you know, Saturday Night Live had the Stones on, and everybody was telling me, Jagger blew his voice. He didn't blow his voice. He probably just, like, was rehearsing a whole day. And if he wasn't, well, it didn't sound like he was rehearsing a whole day. But, I mean, he may have had gigs before. He may have been in the studio. So I didn't lose my voice, folks. I just happened to be a little hoarse, you know?
You sounded fine tonight.
Thank you.
And we do wish you the best of luck with Urban Desire and 20th Century Records.
Thanks a lot. And again, thanks.
And you have to...
HFS. I have to remember the call letters, see, because this stations are important, you know? They're like the middleman between the business vultures and the creatives, you know?
For sure. The next time that you get into Washington, you'll have to come up and spin some records. Your choice, your favorite.
I can play disc jockey?
You wouldn't believe our library.
I love it. I love it. I'd love to do it. I'd love to do it. Yeah. Could we play like the Modern Lovers and...
Jonathan Richman?
Yeah, we could do... I love Johnny. Picasso is like one of my favorite tunes. Well, I'm into like comedy, and I think that he's incredible.
Well, so are you. I mean...
Thank you.
I dug the James Brown songs that you did. I mean, you can tell where your influences were, where your...
Oh, yeah. I used to go to the Apollo when I was like 14. You know, and everybody used to go, where you going? I said, I'm going uptown, boy. I'm going to go check out Joe Tex, James Brown.
Skinny Legs and all.
Oh, God. I used to have such a good time in those places, you know.
We're like the only station left that plays the Motown stuff, you know, Martha and the Vandellas and the 1, 2, 3, 4 Tops.
Yeah, you know what? You know who... Yeah, you're talking about that. You know who my ultimate would be to produce, which I almost had her. But the label let her go, which really upset me, because that's somebody I would have loved to have produced. Ronnie Spector from the Ronettes.
She was working with, the E Street Band.
I would have taken that chick into a studio. I'm telling you, man, I would have done a number on her. I know exactly what she should be doing right now. It is not what she used to do, and it is definitely not what she did before. I mean, this last album, this last record, that was ridiculous. And I'm going to get her. I'm going to produce that girl. I'm going to produce her because I know what to do with her.
You sure?
Meanwhile, if you find any local talent, by the way, I'd like to put this on the air. Oh, no, you're going to get bombarded with letters. Please let him know. Good talent in Washington, D.C. I'm looking for one act. Before I go in with my next album, I'd like to go produce another act.
All right, well, we'll see what we can drum up.
But it's got to be rock and roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a musicians classified here at the station, I'm sure. We'll work something out. We'll find you somebody.
Well, it's not just anybody. See, Washington, we got to come out with a group here. Come on. Boston, Chicago, New York, we got San Francisco, we got L.A. We got to come up with somebody here.
Like I told you before, Nils Lofgren is.
Nils is saying a lot, too, you know. But, you know, write to Thomas. WHFS, write to WHFS. You got to write to WHFS and send them a cassette, and they'll send me one, right, Tom?
They will, for sure. Let me see. What?
Tom.
Yeah.
Not Thomas.
Well, yeah, I go by Tom.
But you go by Thomas.
Yeah.
But I can call you Tom.
You can call me.
Hey, you can call me Genya.
Okay. Let's talk about that. Where are you from originally, Genya?
Well, I'm from Poland. I know all the Polish jokes, and I'm not tired of them. Actually, I'm tired of the same ones being repeated to me. See, if anybody's got... By the way, send all Polish jokes to Thomas at WHFS. I will get it. You'll send them to me, right?
We'll walk on the Polish side.
You, me, and Lou.
What's Lou up to?
Lou is touring mainly in Europe because that's where he's the hottest.
He japped out here. He didn't come.
He will jap out at a sneeze. If you say hello to him wrong, he'll jap out. And in a way, I like him being that eccentric, okay? I don't think you can count on him, all right? He's not a person to count on. But to hang out, he's really a nice guy. He is more frightened than it's not even a frightened, you know, he's been done in so many times. He's terribly sensitive. I mean, I get a bad review, I scam it. He gets a bad review, he studies it, you know, and it's, excuse me, I have a cold.
I saw the piece in Rolling Stone with you and Lou on stage.
Oh, yeah. Did you like that? You should have seen him at the bottom line. You would have died, Tom. He came up. It was like he didn't know the lyrics. He didn't remember the lyrics of Colorado, right? Matter of fact, it's not even Colorado. Matter of fact, he said to me at the sound check, he said, "What?" He said, "What is that tune about?" And I said, "Oh, God, Lou." Again, for the 90th time, it is about a Puerto Rican guy. But anyway, he came up on stage. He forgot all the lyrics, you know. I want you to know, the first show at the bottom line was a disaster. Even though people liked it, people didn't like it. It's a disaster because I don't know if you've ever been in any of these shindigs, right? Where every reviewer in the world is sitting there because the record company flew them down, right? They're all sitting there with a pad and pencil, and I'm trying to perform, and they're not into the songs. They are reviewing me. Yeah, they're writing. They're looking at my feet, looking at my panty line. They're looking at my top. You know, at that night I had a see-through with no bra on, so I mean, like, a lot of people were appalled. I couldn't get into the music because everybody was sitting there judging me. I don't want to be judged. I want people to come that like my music. That's why I put out a record. Or else I could have been a club, you know, I could have worked in a club. Oh, sorry. So the night that Lou got up, you know, we were both a little uptight, you know. It was all reviewers. It was a big party, and which I appreciate 20th century, by the way. Plug, but a good reason to plug, okay? I've been on a lot of labels. I have a feeling that I'm the reason for the vinyl shortage. That's a Jewish, Yeah, you name it, I've been on the label, right? 20th realized that in order for me to make a comeback, they had to give me a big promo. And they did. I had posters on buses. I wanted to put posters in subways, but they refused it because they were too obscene. I used male models instead of female models, if you know what I mean. I really wanted to do a turnaround. That's why the back of my album cover has got the guy laying on me while I'm, not laying on me, but leaning towards me while I'm looking away. I got so tired of looking at album covers where, the women were draped on the men, and it's always oh yeah, so I decided, I'm trying to watch my language, Thomas. Is it?
It's cool.
Okay.
I'm on from 9 to 1 at night.
All right, so I got really tired of tits and ass, and I decided that I wanted to use a guy. So my guy in the posters in New York City has got my album cover in front of his crotch, and he looks like he's getting off. And that's pretty much what the campaign was about. But I don't know any record company that would have said yes to me on that. 20th Century did. And they're trying for me, So I'm happy with the label. I'm going to do another album for them.
Well, you deserve it, Genya. You've put a lot into this business, and it's about time that...
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm like you, I'm like you. I enjoy what I do. If I don't enjoy it, I walk.
Really?
Yeah, so the reason why I had so many labels is they put me through a change, I'd walk. There's not one contract you can't break. Not one. Very few people know that Springsteen, well, not few, but people that don't read papers, the rock papers anyway, know that Springsteen, the reason why he wasn't out a lot earlier was because he was in litigation with his management. I'd do the same thing. If I thought I was getting ripped off, I'd rather work in a fucking laundry than than to record and have somebody collect on me at this point. You got to get paid for what you do, and you got to be appreciated. That's where audiences come in.
That's what happened to Link Ray.
Mm-hmm. There's a good example, because that guy is he's great. He's great. You can only take so long of getting ripped off, it's like a doctor will go to school for 6 years to get his degree, right? A lawyer. Then they open their own practice. They get paid. Hey, it's the same thing in this business. Springsteen didn't just come on the scene. A lot of, that the Dead Boys, the Dead Boys, whether people like them or not, they've been around for 5 years. They put in, if you want to call it dues. See, I don't call it dues. You know why? I really feel that you're your own maker. All right? There is no such thing as dues. You just got to stay on top of it. If someone's ripping you off, walk. Go to a lawyer. Go to an accountant. Do something. Only a dummy will sit back and say, oh, I'm getting ripped off. I'm getting screwed. I'm getting dumped on. I'm getting this. Do something about it, man.
Look at Apple Records and Rolling Stone Records.
Yeah, even the Beatles. They could have been making more money. Someone's knocking on our door.
I hear them knocking.
What do you want? What do you want? I'm on the air. What'd you think, we were having a scene? No, see, Beast is my protector. That's my road manager. Beast is my road manager. Beast makes sure that I have no social life. See, we walk into a bar, I'll be talking to a guy, the guy's coming on to me, and Beast will walk over and go, hey, who is this guy? And the guy gets so scared he walks away, and that's my road crew. The best was Rolling Stone magazine in San Francisco. What was his name? Ben Fong Torres comes in, and he got so off on the whole crew, right? He turned around and he goes, this is like the only rock group that I've ever seen that reminds me of Carter's Back, the Sweat Hogs. You guys do, man. Yeah, the whole road crew's got this heavy, heavy New York accent, and they scare everybody away from me, you know. I'm trying to tell him I want some kind of social life on the road, you know, but he scares all my boyfriends away.
Did you do the village scene back in the 60s?
No, I never did the village. I never did the mountains. I think in my own way, I've been an outcast. I started an all-girls band when everybody went, "You're nuts," you know. 10-wheel drive. It wasn't a proven thing yet. We worked, you know. I wanted to produce, and they said, yeah, don't be crazy, you know, you're not going to get hired as a producer. I feel like I'm a pioneer, you know. Yeah. I will always try something. When somebody says to me, you can't, I go, oh, yeah. You know, I mean, the worst thing you could say to me is, don't ever try something, because then I'll try. And that's pretty much that's my message to a lot of women in this business, too. Women that are afraid to